Now, King Charles has long been a face at the front of environmental campaigning, but now one of the monarch's homes is being targeted by Extinction Rebellion as they begin a 3-day takeover of Windsor Great Park.
Given the King's passion and work on climate change, is it fair, though, to protest on his grounds, of all people, some might say? Well, we asked you who you thought had done more for climate change issues, the King or Extinction Rebellion?
Well, I'd say the King, because Extinction Rebellion just spray orange paint on stuff.
I think the King's doing it the right way. They're just doing it just for the likes, the views, the hits.
Society as a together, they have done more than anybody else.
I would say the King is pretty cool at doing things like that.
To be honest, I don't think anyone's done enough.
Joining us from Windsor is Olympic gold medalist turned Extinction Rebellion activist Etienne Stott, and from former Royal correspondent Michael Cole joins us from Suffolk. Etienne, if I can come to you first, if there's one thing you would associate with King Charles, outside of his role as a member of the royal family and now the King, of course, is probably his dedication and his awareness and the use of his platform when it comes to environmental issues. Are you targeting the wrong person here?
Oh, good morning. Thanks for having me on. I think it's really important to begin with to say we've consistently and repeatedly said we are not targeting King Charles with our actions this weekend. We're here to talk about an upgrade to democracy. The place we're at here is an iconic venue. It represents an old way of doing things. We upgraded some time ago from that way to a parliamentary democracy. But right now, our political systems are floundering to deal with the climate and ecological emergency. And we're proposing an upgrade to tackle these issues in the form of a citizens' assembly on climate and ecological justice. So we are not targeting the King.
You could have picked any other venue, though, couldn't you? And it would have had a maybe more direct impact on change from the old to the new. It must feel to the King, again, though, it is a little bit personal.
Well, we don't want to. We want to make sure the King understands that this is not personal. We're here to talk about the wider system issues, and I think it's an interesting point to say this. The climate and ecological movement has been consistently misrepresented. Efforts to tackle the climate and ecological emergency are so important and so needed. And actually starting this whole debate on whether or not we're targeting the King, whether or not we're in the right place, we're here to talk about a really important situation and to propose a way of doing things. And we're not saying Extinction Rebellion has not invented citizens' assemblies. These are a method from the cutting edge of political science that have proven to tackle complicated, tricky, thorny issues that the politicians are scared to tackle. And we want to get that into the public discussion. We are fed up of talking about whether we're in the right place or whether we're targeting King Charles. We are not. We want to talk about how our system is failing us and sending us on a path towards absolute misery.
Michael Cole, the King will be aware that people have the right to protest. He'll be very aware of that. If there was any protest that was going to happen on his grounds, this is probably the one he might well have real favourable opinions about and actually support the cause.
Good morning, Adil. Good morning, Kate. Of course, it's very fine for these people to have a nice camping weekend with the added attraction of echo chamber political speeches. If that's what they want, let them do it. But why drag the King into it, except for some easy publicity? As you both said, he was an environmental campaigner for causes long before most of the people who are camping there this weekend were even born. He's been an advocate over climate change and global warming, and he's been a world leader in that aspect. So it's really rather unfair to drag him into it.
Well, on that note, though, they've said it's not personal, it's not a personal attack on him, but on that note, wouldn't he support it? He'd be like, well, OK, let them have their protest because they believe in the same things I believe in.
Well, indeed, and the royal estate has actually given permission for them to come onto the grounds of Windsor Great Park for the weekend. They're having stewards, and I'm sure, well, let's hope that everything will be orderly, and I'm quite sure it will. They'll behave themselves. But I think it's a little bit of reverse PR here, because we all know, and many of us have suffered from the antics of Extinction Rebellion, and most people deplore them. We all of us, if we're thinking, are concerned about these issues, but the worst way to express them is in the ways that they are doing, because it just absolutely hacks off people.
Let's bring
who would otherwise be well inclined to support them. They should really imagine, for one instance, that they're living in the world's oldest democracy and work democratically to achieve their ends, rather than by guerrilla means.
Let's bring Etienne back in. Etienne, there will be people watching at home who aren't your biggest fans. They may believe, actually, in some of the fundamental causes and part of your campaign, but the way you go about it, it can be disruptive. There'll be people today maybe having a day trip to Windsor Castle, maybe disrupted by what you're doing. Do you not feel that in some way the whole campaign is a little bit counterproductive, and rather than getting people on side, you're turning people against you?
Well, I would say that it's only counterproductive if it's represented in the way that it is trying to be represented here today. For example, as this big focus on disruption and the way that we are disliked. When in fact, when we speak to the public, we know lots of people share these concerns, as you suggested. What we want to do is move beyond the discussion of tactics and venues and start to talk about how our system is not working to tackle this situation. So Michael suggested there that we live in a democracy, but a democratic system that we've got at the moment has been struggling to get hold of this for about 30 years. And that's why we want these citizens' assemblies to tackle this situation.
Right.
This brings together a representative sample of British public together to discuss this properly, free from short-termism, free from the simple slogans, and actually get to grips with this working together rather than talking constantly about the tactics.
OK, well, you make your points very strongly. We asked you at home whether Extinction Rebellion are right to protest on the King's doorstep. 21% of you said yes, 79% said no. So I'm afraid you've still got some convincing to do, Etienne. Just before you both go,
Michael,
Michael,
can come in and explain the truth about what we're doing.
OK.